Hey guys, welcome to the live draft order spectacular. As we all know, the fantasy football draft is tonight at 11:30. Feel free to come to Rick. We'll be drafting in the student community government office, but it is an online draft, so you can draft from home if you'd like. Anyways, there's been some questions about the draft order for tonight. I could have just randomized it. I could have had the league randomize it, but I decided I would do something a little bit different. I'm gonna pick the draft order out of a hat. Not just any hat, my infamous bowler cap. So as you see, is a normal cap. There is nothing different about it. And I have 12 sheets of paper with all of our names written on it. All of our names are written once each. So, with that said, I am going to start the draft by putting these in a hat. Okay, so for those of you who don't remember, Bernardo was last year's champion, believe it or not, but things are looking to change this year. I am going to make a run for it and claim champion as both fantasy baseball and fantasy football champion. That is my goal. I know others, such as Travis, is looking to make a repeat. Panda, Eric, Breen, Anyways, let's get this thing started. So, the names are in the hat. I will draw one at a time in reverse order. So the first name I draw will be the 12th pick. Now remember, this is a snake draft, so the 12th pick is also the 13th pick. And the first pick, their next pick is the 24th pick, but then they get the 25th pick, etc. So, the 12th pick in this year's draft is Augustus. Now, that probably looks backwards to you, as I can tell, but it says Augustus. So, he is number 12. No one really cares about him anyways. He barely even knows the league exists. Okay, 11th pick in the draft will be Joan, also known as Joan or G Money. J Money, I don't know. He makes his own nicknames. Joan is, quote-unquote, more knowledgeable about football now from 2 years ago when he was last in the league, and he sabotaged some trades by voting against them because he didn't like people and because he didn't care about the league. This year, he says he's got 2 years of football knowledge now under his belt, and he's ready to do this. So, he'll be drafting 11th. Next, we have the 10th pick. And the 10th pick will go to Travis. Travis is one of the people in the league that is actually pays a lot of attention. Travis, for those of you who don't remember, always starts the league, both fantasy baseball and fantasy football, on a slow start. So don't be surprised if he starts 0-2, 0-3 this year, and then makes a run. In his fantasy football championship 3 years ago? 2 years ago, I believe, 2010, 11, 10, we'll go with 10. He started the league very poorly, but then he won his last 6 games, I believe, finished 6-7, and snuck into the playoffs, and then en route to his fantasy football championship. It was starring Miles Austin. That was Miles Austin's breakout year, and Travis picked him off the waiver wire and was a huge part to his success that year. Anyways, he'll be picking 10th. Next, we have the 9th pick. And the 9th pick will be Eric. Eric, perhaps one of the top 3 most knowledgeable and also most competitive in the league. He takes it very seriously. And he will without a doubt be gunning for the championship this year. He has yet to win a championship, fantasy baseball or fantasy football, yet is consistently in the playoffs. He may or may not be able to draft tonight because, unfortunately, tonight wasn't a great night for him. But we all hope he can because we know how much it means to him. And he'll be drafting the 9th pick. So it's an interesting spot. I think the first tier guys are starting to fade right around 9, 10. You start getting into second tier kind of players. Anyways, 8th pick. Now, I know what you're all thinking. This has been 5.5 minutes, and you just want to know what, if you're not one of those 4 guys, you just want to know when your pick is. Well, this is the fairest way for me to do it. There would be no discrimination, no people saying that I picked them with whatever I want. This is fair, and I'm taking as much time as possible to piss you guys off a little bit because I'm the commissioner and I can do that. So you can finish watching the video and see when you're picked, or you can just wait till the draft and find out then. It's up to you. Most of you probably won't be on the league site to find this out. But anyways, the 8th pick will go to Breen. Breen, like Eric, is one of the most dedicated players to these leagues. And Breen and Eric also have something else in common in that they hate each other. Fun fact. I think we all know this. And it would be interesting to see them go up against each other. And by picking behind each other, they very likely could be stealing each other's players throughout the draft and pissing each other off, causing some kind of drama. But they very likely won't be in the same room anyway, so either way, Breen will be picking 8th. Getting towards the middle now. The next couple picks are right in the middle of the draft, and they will get to have roughly the same amount of time between their picks, as opposed to players on the end who will get 2 picks in a row, or 2 picks out of 4, and then wait for a long time. A lot of people prefer the middle of the draft for this reason, so there's not a huge gap. Others don't. It's a matter of preference. Without further ado, the 7th pick in the draft will go to Protege. Protege is an interesting person when it comes to fantasy sports. He starts the year out paying a lot of attention to the league, and right around the halfway mark, he usually drops off. He had a terrible, terrible year last year when he was Forsett in the ass. Whenever you name your team after Justin Forsett, bad things are going to happen. Let's be honest, that's not a very consistent player. He had maybe 2 weeks of actually being decent, and I think whatever team signed him this year just dropped him today for the 53-man roster move, but I'm not sure about that. And I don't remember what team that was. I feel like it was Tampa Bay, because I feel like Tampa Bay picked up everyone this year. But anyways, Protege will be drafting 7th. Now for the first half, we're down to the final 6 people. These are people that will be drafting in the first 6 picks in the draft, and the last 6 in every even round. That leaves Corey, Bernardo, Panda, Dave, me, and Nate Lee. So those are who the remaining people left. Going strong at 9 minutes. We're about halfway through this thing, and let's continue. This is getting exciting. 6th pick in the draft. The 2012 Rick Peeps draft. 6th pick goes to Corey. Let me tell you a little bit about Corey. Corey had always been historically a fantasy bust. And I've done very many leagues with Corey. Fantasy baseball and fantasy football. Like, I've done probably 20 to 25, maybe more, because for about a 5-year period, I was in 3 fantasy football leagues with Corey. So I've probably done close to 30 leagues with Corey. And until last year, he had never won a championship. Never. Many of those times, he was quite awful. Other times, he, would fluke or make a bad trade or something. Now, last year, Corey made it to the championship in both this league and our very intense pay league that we have from some people from Cumberland and a couple other people. In that league, we do an auction draft, which is a much more you have to be much more talented and knowledgeable for an auction draft. The snake draft is fun, but you can kind of just take the highest ranked guy and get by. Whereas an auction, you have to actually put bids on people, so you have a certain salary you have to work with. I think it's better. Other people disagree. Anyways, he was in the championship in that league, and that was a pay league. And he was in the championship in our league. And remember, he had never won. Now in our league, he lost to Bernardo, but he actually pulled it out in our pay league, and this is how. Entering the first round of the playoffs, I was in some trouble. I was a higher seed, but I lost a lot of guys to injury. I lost Darren McFadden. I lost Fred Jackson, Percy Harvin, Andre Johnson. At this point, Andre Johnson for the second time, actually. Percy Harvin had come back at this point, but wasn't playing 100%. These are elite guys last year that I lost. And while they were healthy, it was a top scorer, but the loss of them really hurt me. So I was a desperate move, and I traded Jordy Nelson and Reggie Bush for Matt Forte. Now some said Corey made a stupid move by giving Matt Forte. However, Jordy Nelson absolutely broke out in the last 3 weeks of the season, our fantasy playoffs, and Matt Forte I believe, tore his MCL on the third play on my team. So I got absolutely nothing out of that, and that led to his fantasy championship. So that's the history with Corey, and then be drafting 6th in our league. So on to the 5th pick. The 5th pick in 2012 draft goes to Nate. Nate's also interesting. He's one of those people that doesn't really care, but at least he paid attention and set his lineup on a week-to-week basis last year. He didn't have a good team, and he didn't expect to go far, and he didn't. But he's someone that paid attention, which is more than we can say for Augustus sometimes, Joanne last year, Protege sometimes, Corey at times. Usually Corey's good, though. So hopefully Nate will continue that pattern of paying attention, because that's all we ask for in this league. It's competitive, but we really just want guys who are going to actually set their lineup on a week-to-week basis. So there are 4 guys left. Me, Dave, Bernardo, and Panda. Yeah. That's all I got about that. So, without further ado, the 4th pick in the draft. Now at this point, the 4th pick in the draft is an interesting pick, because you can get an elite quarterback or get the 2nd or 3rd elite running back. I wouldn't draft a quarterback first overall in a fantasy draft, but the way the passing game has turned out in the last couple of years, it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility to draft a quarterback in the top 5 picks. 3 of the 4 highest passing yard totals in NFL history all happened last year, with Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Matt Stafford. Dan Marino being the 4th, the previous record holder, until it was broken twice in 1 year. So, perhaps this is an Aaron Rodgers pick. Perhaps it's more of a LeSean McCoy, Ray Rice kind of pick. I don't know. It really depends on this person's preference. Without further ado, here's the pick. Panda. Okay. Panda is coming down to Rick tonight to draft when he gets out of work. I am very thrilled about that. I will be getting to see Panda, if only for a short time during the draft. It's still a good thing. So Panda, enjoy the 4th pick. And we move on. Now there's 3 left. Believe it or not, I'm still around. And I did this whole thing, so if I get the 1st pick, then it's not rigged, I promise. I actually, if people recall, I historically don't like the 1st pick. My reason being is, well, in the 1st round you put a lot of stake into your top guy, no matter what, but especially with the 1st pick overall. If you get the 1st pick overall, your next guy is the 24th ranked guy. And if that top guy was to get injured, even if you have his hands cuffed, it can really cripple your fantasy team. Whereas if you have, let's say, the 6th pick and that guy gets hurt, your next best guy was drafted like 17th overall. Not as bad. That's still an elite type of player. So if I will review, but if I was to get a high pick, I might be willing to trade with someone for a lower first round and maybe a 7th round or something like that. But without further ado, the 3rd pick in the draft goes to me. 3rd pick, like the 4th pick, is interesting. You can go with a top elite quarterback, stick with the running backs. It might be a little early to draft a wide receiver, even though Calvin Johnson had a monster year. But I'll be looking into that as I have the 3rd pick. Now we have 2 players left. Bernardo, last year's champion, and Dave, first-time player with us. He played in fantasy baseball for the first time this past year and did quite well. Lost in the first round, though, to me, as I went on to win my 2nd fantasy baseball championship. But whatever. Anyways, the 2nd pick in the draft goes to, drumroll please, Dave. Dave gets the 2nd pick in the draft in his first year, which means Bernardo, last year's champion, will be drafting 1st overall. So Bernardo, you're on the clock. So that concludes our 2012 Rick Peeps Fantasy Football Draft Order Spectacular. It is 2 o'clock on Friday, roughly 9.5 hours before the start of the draft. So, do your research, come prepared, and don't fuck up. I'll see you tonight.